Time for a Western classic. Kino Lorber sent the 4K release of Shane to me for review. Very, very beautiful presentation here. So let's take a look at the physical release itself, and then I'll talk about the movie a little bit. But like I said, the 4K release of Shane, this is a Western classic, 1953, directed by George Stevens, and starring Alan Ladd. Very, very nice. Jean Arthur, Van Helfen, co-starring Brendan DeWilde with Jack Palance. Jack Palance is in this for about 5 minutes total, maybe on the screen. And you know who else is in here? Elisha Cook Jr. This is a 4K scan of the 35 millimeter camera negative, and this is 118 minutes, and it's Region A only, English subtitles on this Kino Lorber release. If you get it with the slip, the slip has the same artwork as the insert, and it has 2 discs. It has the Blu-ray and the 4K disc. So that is what you get with this. No reversible artwork or anything on the insert. Let's take a look at the special features. We have audio commentary with author, film historian Alan K. Rode, writer of forthcoming monograph, Shane, a Real West series book from the University of Mexico Press. That's pretty cool. I've heard Alan K. Rode's commentaries on other Kino Lorber releases, and they are very informative, good to check out. Then there's another audio commentary by George Stevens Jr. That's the son of the late director / producer George Stevens, and the associate producer Ivan Moffat is also on that commentary. And there's also the theatrical trailer. So that is what is on here. Now, it says it's not rated. I had my 6-year-old watched this. So that brings me to the point that there are deaths in this. There's some pretty grim stuff that happens in Shane. It's very heartbreaking at points, but I did have my 6-year-old watch most of it with me. So even the deaths and stuff are not super gory. It's not a Western that's a big gore fest. My first point I wanted to make is that Shane is generally very clean, it's a very nice, almost like a feel-good Western. A lot of people say that it is the best Western ever made. It is definitely an archetype of the genre. I think that it is probably like the quintessential Western movie. And by the way, Alan Ladd, I just picked up so if you just saw my pickups, the Film Noir 20 box set, Dark Side of Cinema 20 from Kino Lorber. These are, there's 2 Alan Ladd films on here. So he's in Captain Carey USA, and he's in Appointment with Danger. I haven't seen either one of those, but I do enjoy his films, and I loved Shane. I think that he is great, so I'm looking forward to those. So if you're into Alan Ladd, Kino Lorber's hooking you up with a bunch of his flicks. So quintessential Western. Shane opens with Joe Starrett, who is played by Van Helfen, and he has a little plot of land. He is a homesteader, and he is tending to his little farm. He has animals and crops, and he has a wife named Marion, who is played by the lovely Jean Arthur, and he has a son named Joey. And Joey is a lot of people, I've read some reviews, a lot of people didn't like Joey, but I thought that he was endearing. He adds innocence to the movie. You get to see things through his eyes, and he makes big expressions at Shane because Shane is wondrous and bewildering. So a lot of people didn't like him from what I can gather. I thought that he added to the movie. So let me know what you think about that. But we open with Joe Starrett and his lovely wife. They are in their homestead, and a stranger comes riding into town on his horse. And that stranger is Alan Ladd. It is Shane. And he has a very big presence about him. He has an air of confidence to him, and he also has guns. So they don't really, Joe and Shane don't really know how to gauge each other at first. It's kind of a tense interaction. It's a very tense interaction between them when they first meet. After Joe tells Shane to get off of his property, a posse rolls up, and we learn that it is who appears to be the landowners. And I think that they go by Riker. They're trying to kick out Joe and all the other homesteaders. They want all the land so they can have their cattle grazing there, and they want the homesteaders to get out. But they're not going to do that. You know, Joe says that the only way he's going to be leaving his land is in a pine box. So that is how serious this is. Whenever the posse shows up, things get a little tense, and Shane appears from behind the cabin and says, "I'm a friend of Starrett's," you know, and they see, hey, there's some stranger here, and we don't know anything about him, but he just has an air about him that you don't really want to mess with, so they kind of take off at that point. Like I said, this is 118 minutes. There were a couple things. This movie, first of all, it's in glorious Technicolor. 1953, a lot of movies were still in black and white, but the Technicolor and the cinematography, this is Loyal Griggs, the cinematographer, this color is just so vibrant. The cinematography in this is very vibrant. So there's a lot of it just looks like art. It's just setting the scene and really enjoying the Technicolor presentation. And the 4K, this is the best you're ever going to see Shane, in my opinion. So that is really something to take note of, is that this 4K looks great, as I think all of the Kino Lorber 4Ks I've seen do, especially with all the outdoor scenes. It's very bright and vibrant, and it just looks very, very good. It just, like I said, my 6-year-old watched it. It's not a very fast-paced film. It's pretty slow, but I think the picture is just so captivating. It just really pulls you in. So, so there's a lot of beautiful outdoor scenes in this, but there's a lot of just building the character, and the acting in this is so, it's just so calculated, I think. There's very subtle facial expressions and just things that I feel like most Westerns don't have this level of detail, I think. So Shane is willing to help. They feed him. He starts, you know, doing chores around the farm, and he starts staying with the Starretts. And there seems to be like a little, you know, maybe Marion and Shane are keen on each other. It's kind of, there's a weird tension between them, but it's not forced, and there's never anything implied. At one point, somebody in town inquires, you know, he says, "Hey, Shane, what's Starrett paying you?" And Shane says, "Nothing." And the town guy says, "Nothing, huh? Yeah, Starrett's got a pretty little wife." And Shane did not like that comment at all. He did not take kindly to that. So, you know, everything is just very on the up and up between them. And there's even a scene on the Starrett's anniversary, which is the 4th of July, very Americana, where they have a dance together. And Joe is just locked in on them. And it's not in a, you know, I don't want to say that it's in a accusatory manner, but they made the point to linger on Joe watching the two of them dance. So it just, I think, and I thought about this a lot, I think that their relationship is maybe meant to show how good of a character Shane is, because you have him being a gentleman with Marion, you have him being a role model to Joey, and on the other hand, we learn that it's implied that he's a gunfighter, okay? So he eventually meets up with Jack Palance's character, Smilin' Jack here, Jack Wilson. Jack Wilson is a notorious gunslinger, and he's a no-good Yankee. That's what I think about him. This is just very Americana. It's very patriotic. Joey is like an all-American kid. His dad gave him a rifle, but he won't give him any rounds for it, and that's all he wants, is to be able to shoot his gun. He's always just like finding targets to pretend to shoot at with his gun. And then we have the Starts getting married on the 4th of July. Their anniversary is Independence Day. So we have all these homesteaders. They band together because these landowners are trying to kick them off their property. And it's basically a story of the little guy versus the big guy. And they need to figure out how to keep their homes that they worked for and they built. And that's all they have. And all they want is to be left alone. You know, what is more American than that? That's all they want. Give me my little plot of land. Let me exist here peacefully. That is the most American thing I can think of. So, you know, along the lines, Marion here does not like guns. She doesn't like Joey playing with guns. She doesn't like that her husband, Joe Starrett, has a gun. And she certainly doesn't like the gun that, you know, probably old gunslinger Shane brings into her home. And she said that she just wants all the guns to be gone from the valley. She just wants no guns in the valley. So it's like, I don't know. And then this is, how are you going to fight? How are you going to fight the landowners with their hired gun if you don't have any? No spoilers on the big culmination here, but I think you can determine that Shane and Jack Palance are going to be having a showdown at some point. All that I knew about this movie, I did watch this as a kid. I saw parts of it. My grandpa was always watching Westerns on TV. I know that I've seen part of this before, and like I mentioned, pop culture references, the pop culture reference in Shane is "Come back, Shane." So, and you know, I think that gets misquoted in a lot of its iterations too. But basically, that is all that I knew about this movie. I didn't remember a lot about it. I remembered "Come Back, Shane," and that was pretty much it. So, you know, this was kind of like a first-time watch, even though some of the scenes were familiar in my head. This was kind of like a first-time watch for me. So, in that regard, I thought that it was very captivating. I thought that it was entertaining. And if you are a fan of the Western genre, I think this is a necessity, an absolute necessity. And if you're not a fan of Westerns, if you are a fan of film history, if you are a film nerd, then it's also a necessity. So I'm curious to know what everyone thinks of Shane. Have you seen it? Are you a fan? Are you picking this up? Let me know. Many thanks to Kino Lorber, as always, for sending this to me for review. Stellar presentation. So happy to have the 4K. It looks absolutely beautiful. It is a glorious presentation in ultra high definition. So this is the way you want to see it if you're a fan of the movie. Thank you for watching. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think about this, and I will see you next time.